This makes the Boston Celtics unstoppable this season, as we have seen rising players throughout the year in Derrick White, Jayson Tatum, and Al Horford, who have all been cemented themselves as fantastic Celtics this year. And as we gear up for the playoffs and gear up for this next play, we're going to dive back and look at the great moves that Brad Stevens and Joe Mazzulla have done with these two players to really appreciate and embrace themselves in this Celtics culture as we look at this season review, looking at three players on this episode of Celtics Digest. I'm Bruce Velez with my host, Patrick Billings. And Patrick, we got some interesting players to dive into, some main staple names, but some topics that maybe people don't really understand that makes the Celtics fans realize how unstoppable these three really are.
Yeah, I think this is a great one to touch on, especially with these three guys and how perennial they are, especially come playoff time, especially with, Big Al Horford. We know how he could turn up in the postseason, how big he's come up for them. And Jayson Tatum trying to prove some doubters wrong, and Derrick White just trying to stay hot.
100%, 100%. I think all three of these guys kind of fit well into the mold. When we were discussing these type of players to bring in, I really like how we put these three players into this grouping, and I can't wait to dive into it. So without further ado, Patrick, let's get into it. Make sure to grab that snack, ladies and gentlemen. The first player we're going to be diving in and discussing is Al Horford, ladies and gentlemen. The Celtics big man, veteran swingman, has been absolutely fantastic for this Celtics squad this season and has been putting on a great display for the Boston Celtics. Hit the wrong button, but we're going to go look at Mr. Al Horford's stats. And as we see, 9 points per game, 6.2 rebounds, and 2.1 assists on the year, almost having a block per game as well. Horford, almost at 40 years old, is producing stats just like this. But not only just that, on the offensive side, Patrick, where he's able to be 36% from three and 42% from the field, he is lethal on the defensive side as well, guarding the players as Giannis Antetokounmpo, Joel Embiid, LeBron James. He is the star stopper.
Huge. But like you said, man, this guy has been the star stopper. We've seen it in multiple playoffs in a row that he's been able to stop Joel, stop Giannis, or anyone else in front of him. I mean, there's a couple other guys too that might come surprising to a lot of these people, and one of them maybe being someone on the Cavaliers, Bruce.
Yeah, we're definitely going to be diving into that just right now, Patrick. You brought up some great stats, some great stuff to talk about. Not only is Al Horford a defensive stopper, but he's also been a solid scorer for the Celtics team. We look back at this appreciation post for Horford this season when they played against the Suns. 16 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists, and 3 stocks in that game versus the Suns. Was really everywhere on a little bit dismembered defensive team, but once again goes to show you how great Al Horford can be for this Celtics squad. We also saw from NBA.com and stats that Al Horford is one of the 4 players in NBA history to record 1,300 career blocks and 900 career threes, only behind guys in Brook Lopez, Rasheed Wallace, and Clifford Robinson, asserting himself into some powerful names. But like you mentioned, Patrick, there's also this stat here when looking at players getting guarded and when most successful guarding Darius Garland in both the 23-4 season and 2024 regular season, we see Al Horford's name as the number 1 defender on there. But not just that, some other names from the Celtics as well, and Derrick White, Jrue Holiday, and Jaylen Brown on that top 10 list. So that goes to show you some great signs with the Celtics matching up versus the Cavaliers. But Al Horford, that big name, is absolutely shocking, don't you think?
Yeah, I think this surprises a lot of people. I mean, it surprises us as well in ways, but you see a lot of the classic guys like Derek White, Drew Holiday, and Jaylen Brown who have been able to step up on the defensive end against all those stars. They love those matchups, but Al Horford loves them too, and he's not afraid to go and guard the one spot. Even though they can be quicker, he knows how to really kind of gain in and gain some space back from the defenders because he is lengthy and he's really good at getting blocks, and that's what he's done his whole career, like we saw with that crazy stat that only 3 other players have been able to do. But Al Horford doing these numbers against Darius Garland, this is something to look forward to in a possible Eastern Conference Finals, as there's been a lot of talk about how this Celtics center group could be if they are going to be a little bit weary with a lot of injuries or being too small, or honestly just not having the trust in a couple of guys like Luke Cornett, which we have seen with his trust being gained by playing so much better. But Al Horford in the playoffs is going to show up, and you're going to see a total different dude that we saw in the regular season to the playoffs, which is insane.
Yeah, I completely agree. The stay ready group kind of locks into that mentality. And not, Al Horford's not in that class, but in his own way with this starting group, he is that stay ready guy as that, six man filling in as that starter. So, like you mentioned, I think come playoff time, he's definitely going to get that engine rolling. And to mention, going up against the Cavaliers in the Eastern Conference Finals, seeing that gives me a little bit of confidence with Al Horford running in these double big lineups, but even on the switches, getting Darius Garland on him, he's going to be able to use that to his advantage to play some solid defense on a pretty solid scorer as well. But Patrick, Al Horford, absolutely fantastic player for the Boston Celtics. Well deserving of his props. But next, we're going to be diving into another player, which is Derrick White. And Derrick White, alongside Al Horford, has also been very solid for the Boston Celtics this season. If we want to look at his stats on the year, 16.4 points, 4.5 rebounds, 4.8 assists, getting that 1.1 block and almost one steal a game. So Derrick White almost averaging one stocks as well. 44% shooting from the field, 38% from three. And this man is the catch and shoot god. He catches it just like him and Sam Hauser. I feel like I have two of the quickest releases like we've talked about on this channel. They get the ball in their hands, it is out immediately, and it is just straight cash through that netting. What are your thoughts on Derrick White this season?
Is that might be more game speed passes, a little bounce pass or something really quick and right at the top of his head, and then he's just able to release it right in that spot and just get things off quick and put himself in an uncomfortable spot because is constantly in those spots and he needs to practice those. And I think that's something that stands out as well. But averaging two stocks a game and being one of the best plus minuses since the All Star break, I think it was fourth, which is incredible to see, especially from a guy from Derrick White and from the Celtics standpoint.
Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. You mentioned that 3-point shooting. I believe I have this stat here: most points per possession on spot up attempts with the bot
Mm.
within the NBA. Derrick White, one of those top four. But not only just that, a 3-point percent in the clutch for this season. Derrick White is leading at 56%. So the Celtics, when they feel confident, when they know they can trust a guy like Derrick White, Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Jrue Holiday in that fourth quarter, looking for that open pass, they usually go to Derrick White, and he is the guy that is going to drain it. But not only just that, Derrick White has cemented himself alongside two other Celtics teammates, where they broke the record for most threes this season in NBA history and the Celtics history. But not only just that, the first trio of teammates with 250 3-pointers scored in a single season. Just absolutely fantastic work from Derrick White on the offensive end. But he's just not great on the offensive end, Patrick. He is a two-way player and a top one as well. As we see him defending the paint, one of the better defenders across the league, and that, and also defending the point of attack. Derrick White has stapled himself up there. Do you think he qualifies for himself? I know there's a lot of names to be listed for a defensive all defensive team, but I think with these stats proven right here, he could definitely get himself in those conversations.
I think he's definitely a first team all defense type of guy. I don't think it should really be too much of a question because they're already talking about him being one of the best defending guards of all time when it comes to blocks. I mean, him and Dwayne Wade are constantly getting talks about being in that discussion on who is better, but he's constantly leading guards and blocks every single season, and he's only getting better. I believe he had about 80 some odd blocks this year, which is literally about one a game. So this is something crazy to see from a guy like Derrick White. He's just long, knows how to use his body, and he's not afraid to get posterized. We've seen it many times. He doesn't mind getting in the paint and going up with any of the bigs. That has no problem with that, and that's something that's going to come in the playoffs as well. Is that he's not afraid of the moment. So he's going to make a play when he has the chance to, and that's something that the Boston Celtics needs is to have a little bit of a competitive edge. And he's one of those guys that brings that for the Celtics.
You are 100% on that. You mentioned Derek White always being able to kind of give that last ditch effort for the Celtics, and you saw that a couple years back versus that Miami Heat game when he made that layup right at the end. Right, Derek White is always there in the right spot at the right time, ready to make the right play. And you mentioned he's always going to be fighting for that moment. He's not going to shy away from someone like Giannis Antetokounmpo trying to get into him in the lane. He's going to try his best to try to get up there and block it or try his best to stop it. And that's what you have to appreciate with Derek White and with the Celtics team as a whole is that is the culture ingrained into this franchise, and it's just gonna have that ever beating heart just keep on pumping. And Derek White is one of those spots for that as well. Lastly, the last player we're gonna be breaking down and talking about is Jayson Tatum. Tatum has been absolutely electric for this Celtics squad here over this last couple stretch. And this season, man oh man, has put himself on a pedestal, right? A lot of people after last season, with him losing not winning the MVP of the finals, with him not doing the best in the Olympics, a lot of people wanted to hinder on Jayson Tatum this offseason, but he came and put his eggs in all one basket and proved all his haters wrong. 26.8 points, 8.7 rebounds, 6 assists on the season with half a block and 1 steal per game. 45% shooting from the field, 34% shooting from three-point range for your guy in Jayson Tatum. Absolutely electric, a top-tier superstar. And Patrick, a lot of people still want to hate on Jayson Tatum, but he is putting himself in this top-tier echelon.
Being one of the best pick and roll two ways of the whole season this year.
100%. You mentioned that him and Luke Cornett have been absolutely fantastic in that two-man game here. But not only just that, Jayson Tatum obviously is getting that appreciation at the table from Stephen A, who's saying he deserves far more recognition for being one of those elite superstars this game has seen. But this right here, I think, perfectly describes what Jayson Tatum is for the Boston Celtics. And if you don't really understand this graphic from Wayne Spooney, it is absolutely fantastic. It shows Jayson Tatum's passing network. And as you can see, Jayson Tatum is in the middle there. As you can see, everyone sprouts out from Jayson Tatum, right? Obviously, the thicker the line, the more passes that go to that player. So Tatum more comfortable with Brown, Derrick White, Kristaps Porziņģis, Luke Cornett, as we've seen through this team. But if Jayson Tatum is not feeding said person the ball, it is a connecting pass from Jayson Tatum getting to that said player for that production, which just goes to show you that this offense runs through Tatum. And when people hate on him for being a scorer and not being that demanding as a scorer, they don't realize the other places that Jayson Tatum affects the game for the Celtics and how valuable he truly is for this team.
Yeah, and I think that just comes with scoring as well, that a lot of people aren't seeing little things like that. But it's good to see a graphic like this and really see how the offense is really run through him. I mean, his scoring gone down like I talked about, but he's doing everything else that you need on the court, going and grabbing rebounds, going and helping his teammates get more buckets, and even playing good on the defensive end as well. He's not afraid to guard anybody else, but that's just what this team has been all season long. It's about guarding whoever's in front of you and wanting that challenge because they have that dog mentality all season long. And that's what gets them ready for the playoffs. And for someone like him, when he's not scoring well in the playoffs, like we have seen, and it's been talked about constantly in the past, something like passing and grabbing rebounds is definitely something that you could still make a difference on when you're kind of lacking on one side of the floor.
100%. And you love to see that the teammates are also able to pick up for that as well. They're able to hit these shots that Jayson Tatum is finding them for. It's not like Jayson Tatum is getting some empty offensive positions or, not like that. He's helping the team as well, where they're also helping him in his regard in that kind of stance. I really love what I've seen from Jayson Tatum this year. He's really taken it not personal this season, has really just invested it into himself as a player and continuing to get better. And we've seen that with his stats and with his numbers and stuff, and with his two game, like you mentioned, with Luke Cornett, his comfortability on the court as well with these players. And I can't wait to see him really rise to that occasion in this playoffs, because I feel like last season, a lot of people were a little bit too hard maybe on Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown. These two stars really had that light beam kind of posted on them. They had to win. Obviously, they still have to win to repeat champions. They want to do that. But I feel like this season, we're going to see Jayson Tatum in this postseason come out with more of a fire, maybe that we didn't see because he was a little bit nervous going into that postseason last year.
Yeah, and I think another big thing that why we touched on these three exactly is especially with Jaylen Brown, we don't know what his injury is looking like. These three, if they step up in the playoffs like we think that they should, I mean, repeat is in no question. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, especially with Jayson Tatum, if he's able to score the ball like he did all season long in the postseason, and having Derrick White constantly stepping up and that playoff Al Horford that we always see every single year. I mean, Bruce, this is scary what these three can do together. I mean, that's putting Porzingis aside and a bunch of other guys, but this three is definitely vital for this repeat championship this year.
100%. Not only is this three I view as kind of a nucleus for this squad on the court as well, because they help out each other and pick up for the lack of maybe some of the players that maybe we've talked about that might be injured or might not play to their best in some instances. But also, these players have a great connection off the court and on the court. Jayson Tatum and Al Horford, great teammates. Jayson Tatum and Derrick White, also great teammates. So I feel like the chemistry and the connection between these three guys is also unmatched, similar to Jrue and Jaylen Brown and KP as well, where they have these kind of groups. And I think that we're going to see that kind of come through in these series is when they kind of get that communication and that play style really together. And I'm really, really hopeful to see that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I couldn't agree more. These three are definitely a great group of three, and so is that other three with JB, Jrue, and KP. I mean, they have a lot of options, and this is
Hmm.
why this is an important playoff run. And they've got a good team in front of them, especially defensively. They got one of the best defensive rated starting lineups. Or without when they have Cole Anthony in instead of Corey Joseph, the Magic are one of the best defensive lineups in the league. So they have a little bit of a test, man. They've tested the Celtics all year long, and this group is going to have to step up and really show that they are better than everybody else.
100%. I completely agree. And I think they will, right? The Celtics are unstoppable with this trio. They have been really, really solid with these three. So I'm feeling a good power strike coming from them coming into this Orlando Magic matchup. But Patrick, it's been an absolutely great video discussing, looking back at these three players, Tatum, Horford, and Derrick White, and reviewing their seasons and hopefully some great postseasons as well as we look towards the bright spots for this Celtics team gearing up these next couple of days. But we'll catch you guys in the next video. Let us know your thoughts on these three players and what you guys ultimately think. And we'll catch you guys in the next video. Have a great rest of your day and go Boston Celtics.